what of LaFleur coming in now, first head coaching job in the National Football League?
You know, the one thing I would say, Rich, is that the people who know Matt LaFleur are a little bit worried for him because he's not a commandant. He doesn't enter a room and be a commanding presence. And I remember talking to Bill Parcells in January, and Bill Parcells, some of these guys he literally does not know. So he doesn't know for sure who, you know, what kind of people they are. But he said, I'm a little bit worried about the NFL decision-making process when coaches are hired because maybe people think that their genius is on one side of the ball or other. He wasn't saying that, oh, it's this whole Sean McVay thing. He wouldn't care if it was defense. You know, if it was somebody who was a brilliant guy on defense. He said, you know, you really have to. And the reason why Tony Dungy struggled to get a job for a long time is that people think he couldn't. Wayne Weaver, Jacksonville Jaguars. I want to hire Tom Coughlin because he can command a room. You know, and then you listen to Tony Dungy's people after Tampa Bay and Indianapolis, and he walks into a room and you could hear a pin drop. He just was a quieter guy. But that's the thing I would be concerned about, and we'll see how it goes. But Matt LaFleur, it doesn't have the reputation of being this commanding presence kind of guy, which I still think as a head coach you need.
Well, according to this article, that there was really no changing Aaron Rodgers' mind with McCarthy because it went all the way back to the 2006
That's
draft.
Crazy, man. That's crazy. Now, look, which
LaFleur doesn't have on his resume.
Right, I understand that. But that particular story, I don't doubt the story. But if it's true, which I have never heard one time, but I don't doubt it. But if it's true, that is crazy talk. That's utterly crazy. And if Aaron Rodgers resented him because of that, not cool on Aaron's part.
Well, I don't know, because my take on that, though, is why is it not cool for Aaron Rodgers to do that, but it's cool for Brady to say, everybody passed on me, I'm 199th overall, and I'm going to take it out on everybody, and that's my fire. And that if he does sit there and he thinks, this guy never liked me from the beginning, if he doesn't agree with the play calling, he doesn't agree with this or that, the other, this guy never liked me from the beginning.
But how can you say he never? I mean, you sound like a player. Okay, you really do. Oh, he never liked me. Mike McCarthy is paid by Mike Nolan and I forget, was it Trent? It wasn't Trent Baalke. Whoever the GM was at that time, Scott McCloughan, I really forget who it was. But he's paid by those people to say, who do you think is the better quarterback? And he obviously thought at the time that Alex Smith was the better quarterback. Now, could Aaron Rodgers be angry about that to this day? Of course he could. But in my opinion, it's hardly a realistic way to approach life, in my opinion. You know, if I applied for jobs coming out of college and, you know, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette didn't hire me out of college. So, and the Cincinnati Enquirer did. Did I ever say, I'll show you Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and I hate them to this day? I mean, I don't know. It's just not my thing.
Well, I mean, if it is his thing, the reason why I bring it up here is that would have nothing to do with Matt LaFleur. Zero. Right. They're coming in right here where Rodgers is 35.
But
he knows he's got a 5-year.
Don't you think that Mike McCarthy, had he been, you know, Chris Sims, you know, formerly of Bleacher Report, now at NBC, told me in the last spring when we were talking about this that Mike McCarthy's defenses or offenses basically were day one West Coast offense. Right. Very, very old, nothing new and exciting and imaginative. And he can't believe that they were so primitive. This is Chris Sims.
Yes.
And so I can't believe for a second that if if Sean McVay passed on Aaron Rodgers and Sean McVay became the coach of Aaron Rodgers, that to this day, Aaron Rodgers would say, yep, Sean McVay, always hated that guy because 13 years ago he passed on me. It's not realistic. What's realistic is, and I do buy this, that he thought that Mike McCarthy was not helping him become a better football player.
Okay, so then LaFleur comes in when the off-season workout program begins, I imagine next week, because he's a new coach, he gets new players. He finally gets to sit
this
down
week, I think, right?
right with Aaron Rodgers. Well, we'll look at that right now.
I think it's this week, yeah.
Right. So he finally gets to sit down with Aaron Rodgers. LaFleur and Rodgers gets to sit down.
If Aaron Rodgers shows up this week, and I don't know that he is or he isn't, but when they finally sit down, I think my gut feeling is that Rodgers will be impressed with LaFleur's offense. I think because LaFleur, is obviously a disciple of Sean McVay, and Sean McVay believes that everything new is great. And so Aaron Rodgers is totally going to buy into that. Now, LaFleur had a checkered season in Tennessee. A checkered season. And it wasn't all great at all. And the quarterback play was certainly not great. So, again, I'm not looking to say this is going to be trouble at all. I'm just saying I don't know how it's going to come out.
Right. So I'm going to give you a choice here, one of two choices.
Yeah.
Because this is the sports talk radio thing. There's no such thing as gray area in sports talk radio. What's more likely, we look back 5 years from now, Aaron Rodgers, sensitive, stubborn guy who just sabotaged Matt LaFleur and didn't win another championship in Green Bay. And then we look back and say it wasn't McCarthy's fault. It was Aaron Rodgers just being so difficult. Or LaFleur and Rodgers flourish together. They realize that they need each other, and it was McCarthy's issue, and they win.
Well, I don't think
it's.
I would choose the latter.
Okay.
But not saying, well, it was McCarthy's issue, because I do think that Rodgers and McCarthy share responsibility for what has happened in the last few years. But I just think that Aaron Rodgers understands that he signed there in Green Bay. They're not going to show him the door. He's not going to pull an Antonio Brown. And in my opinion, I think that sometime in the next 5 years, the Packers will win a Super Bowl.
Okay.